starting the rollers and antisocial behaviour advocate, I got given the task of hoax calls and trying to reduce hoax calls. We work quite closely with the local media, the radio, the local newspapers, and over the last 2 years we've seen a massive reduction of approximately 47% in hoax calls. I think we've had successes in all areas in terms of what we deal with. We've had an attack on a fire crew and we've been out, we've viewed the CCTV from the fire engine, we've picked up a good footage, we've been out and spoken to the community, which has led to us working with the police and catching someone, bringing them to justice. It's a good feeling to go home and think that you're doing that job.
The role of the asylum seeker and refugee advocate is to work with the various different groups to reduce the risks of them having a fire, and it was just about spending time in community centres, talking to people. In Bailey Court there was an incident where the pan went on fire and it actually ended up being quite a serious fire, but since that's happened we've done a lot of work with the accommodation centres. Every couple of weeks we go around there to do talks with the occupants, just to give back up to the staff who are already working there about the importance of fire safety.
We become conditioned to think that social issues such as poverty and lifestyle choices, especially around smoking and alcohol, were things beyond our influence, unsolvable if you like. You've been to too many jobs, I suppose. It wasn't just the knowledge. The other crucial thing the advocates brought was time. They had the time to look at the higher risks and get things done. Time that we just can't guarantee. Time. Lots of it taken up going to jobs caused by young kids. Listen, don't get me wrong, I was no angel as a kid, but trying to open the door to some of these, it was locked, wedged and nailed down. We weren't going to tackle this problem with advocates alone. Firefighters had to get out there and get involved. They even put some of us in a film. There's over 100,000 young adults living across Merseyside. So let's get things into perspective for a minute. There's only a tiny fraction of these that are causing us real problems. 10 or 20 years ago, we would have passed the buck, let someone else sort it. Things were changing. We were reaching out to every street, every resident, remember. The schools were a great starting point. We needed to get the kids thinking about the firefighters, the ordinary men and women behind the uniform. After all, many of us were living in the very communities we were serving. We needed to remind everyone that behind the firefighter's mask is a real person. As I said, this was a decent starting point. The trouble is, our work in the schools felt a bit like our work at an incident. You know, you get a call, you turn up, do your job and you leave. We decided to take things to another level. If we were serious about engaging with young people, we had to communicate with them regularly and consistently. That meant going to schools, staying there. Not every firefighter wants to go back to school. And let's be real, we're not going to catch every kid in school. Might catch him here though. The thing is, it's important that once we're involved, we stay involved. Schools, sports clubs, any organisations working with young people were starting to look at how firefighters could support or lead their projects. And the job, they just let us get on with it and find out for ourselves what was possible. The roots of antisocial behaviour run deep for many of these kids. I know we can't be there all the time and change everything, but we are there. And we are making a difference. Proof of that for me was when we achieved the second Beacon Award for early intervention, children at risk. It wasn't the award itself, it was the interest that followed from other fire services, children's services and charities. It was like they were really waking up to what Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service could offer. We've got over 100 people working with young people every day now. So what do the kids think?
I think with the firefighters getting involved, I think it really makes it better. Well, being a firefighter is great, he saves lives, but being a coach as well is just amazing.
It's great because he goes straight from being a fireman to him working with us and gives up his time.
Be honest, if it wasn't for these dead giveaways, you'd never even thought you were in a fire station. But this one is right in the heart of the community, right in the centre where it matters. And we're building more just like this one. You see, the more time we spend out there, the more opportunities there are for people to come in here. I'm just about old enough to remember that we weren't always as welcoming. But 10 years ago, when we promised a home safety check for every home and every street, it changed the way we looked at the job. And now with the lowest fire, death and injury statistics on record, we know for certain that we took the right path. We've achieved what we set out to do, to reduce the risk of fire in every street. And along the way achieved so many other things too. The third and most recent Beacon Award for reducing health inequalities shows that we not only understand the wider social issues that affect our communities, but that we've got some solutions too.
To be perfectly honest, it looked like a derelict property.
Knocked on this particular door, 2 up and 2 down, terrace property. And this little old lady opened the door.
And a man's face came through and he said, what do you want?
We immediately knew that there was a problem.
She invited us into her home and we had a discussion about safety in the home, and it was challenging because there were some language barriers there.
First thing I noticed, no doors on the downstairs.
Nothing on the walls, water on the floor. There was a hole in the ceiling in the lounge.
It was like going back in time. It was like pre-war.
She was heating her house with propane heaters.
We found open fires throughout, an old-fashioned 30-year-old cooker.
The big factor for me as well was she had 6 kids.
And it turned out the 15-year-old was setting fireworks off inside the house.
I had to constantly reassure him and see how we could help him.
Turns out he was setting rockets and Roman candles off. The woman broke down, she became quite distraught.
So we installed our smoke detectors. We tried to get our message across, if you like, in terms of safety in the home and the issues around the kitchen.
So the 2 firefighters that came in with me automatically went to the 2 lads, separated them out.
We gave her the advice, fitted the smoke alarms.
We calmed them all down, we brought them together. It was quite good because you could see that we'd actually got through to them, especially the lad.
We felt there was more that we could possibly do by getting in touch with other agencies.
So I said, look, if you let me, I'll involve social services, and there's all kinds of help they can give.
I think it's one of the biggest transformations I'd seen.
When we went back, she was living in much better conditions, and we felt that we'd improved her quality of life.
Everything that we could, we got in place. We managed to achieve within a very short space of time.
And she's obviously safer, a lot safer now than what she was before we made the visit.
6 weeks later, we turn up, and there on the lawn, there must have been 10 or 12 people. Everybody had got out of that house prior to that incident escalating. That for me could have been a real tragedy. If we hadn't gone in there and it was those smoke detectors that got those people out of that house.
400,000 homes visited, more and more people protected, and a real sense that we've become part of the community we serve. We couldn't have done it without the assistance of so many partners. Local authorities, housing associations, primary care trusts, the police, there's too many to name. And of course, our fantastic staff.
The last 10 years have brought a lot of challenges, but the greatest challenge was to stop fire deaths and injuries to the people out there. The depth's right. We couldn't have done it by ourselves. And to be honest, there's still more to be done. You never know. When my time's done, I might get congratulated for being at the quieter station. What do you reckon?
It's been over a decade of achievement that we can all be incredibly proud of. I know I am, but we can't be complacent. We have to keep pushing forward. We have to keep being innovative, but we have to also recognise the part that in the future will be played by the health agenda and the environmental agenda, so that we can make every street, every home, every person in Merseyside protected now and in the future.